All right, all right. Peace and supreme blessings. I am Amin Anuti, and this is Miss Mama Denise Smith, CEO and founder of CTSO, and we are just a baby boomer and a millennial. Today's topic is going to be based off of healing thyself while in relationships, and that could be in regards to partnerships, marriages, any type of relationships you've come across during a period of time while you're on your healing journey, and what that may look like for you. Um, so one of the reasons why we wanted to have this discussion, because at the present moment there is a lot of discussions around healing, whether it's generational trauma, whether it's generational wealth, whether it's just understanding how to get yourself in alignment with everything that's going on. There's just been like a massive topic on healing. And as far as healing for me goes, I would say my journey started maybe in about 2009, 2010. I don't know when you would say your healing journey started, Mama Denise, but I know for a fact mine definitely started after I had my first daughter. So about 15 years ago for me.
Um, Sitting here thinking, girl, when they say let go to pass, let go to pass. It's just a remnant of of what happened back then. Couldn't even put a date on it. Just it's gone. Um, Healing the first time around wasn't as significant coming from a divorce.
Hmm.
Um, I know what I needed to do, and I know what I didn't want, regardless of the religion that I was raised up in, that you never divorce um, your mate. But I realized it wasn't for me. And I just didn't feel like God had intended for me to suffer and be totally submissive under the hands of um, a partner or mate that wasn't clear on their own livelihood, what they really wanted out of life or how life looked to them. And so, growing up in our culture, some of our men, they um, grew up with the wordings of their fathers or the elders in their heads. You don't let a woman talk back to you. You don't let a woman yell at you, this kind of thing. You're the king. And so they feel that they can treat a female mate in their household uh, less than human, pretty much like a servant. And I was, or rather, I was raised like that. My spirit wasn't raised like that. So, yeah, the last two relationship, they realized that and they figured that out and tried to cope accordingly. Because I'm just not your everyday black woman. Wasn't born like that. So I tried to submit to that cultural type standing. But as I say, a lot of things in my head and my spirit that doesn't resonate with what was going on in today and that in my world at that time.
Hmm.
So it wasn't giving me fulfillment. Being a housewife wasn't giving me that fulfillment. Had a kid at married at 19, had a kid at first kid at 21. Still wasn't that fulfillment. Now there's something piled on to my life where I no longer was concerned about me. I'm inundated and to me pressured to make sure the household is okay, the husband is okay, the child or the children are okay. So there was no room for me to check me and say, okay, you got time for you, because any spare time there was, it felt like it was dedicated to the household. So and living like that, and I told myself, okay, I'm happy, this is life and this is the way I'm supposed to enjoy life. Time goes on and until you just really feel unappreciative and it becomes stressful. Serious prayers, and reaching out to my spirit guides. They once they started tapping me on the shoulder and telling me, "You're a damn fool." So what I choose to do is get out of that situation, regardless how other people were looking at me or what they would say about me or how my parents would feel. I felt there was a connection between me and God that I worship. I had a good talk with him, and I'm like, I can't do this. And I just, sorry to disappoint you, but I got to get out.
Do you?
Realizing and researching and realizing that this is not what God meant for us to live, how he meant for us to live and be treated less than a human. The Bible states that it's written, a man chooses a woman. And then First Corinthians is that's your helpmate. You would not harm yourself. So why would you harm your mate and disrespect your mate? So I lived on those premises and I realized I wasn't getting the support and respect that is needed to continue that lifestyle of a marriage. Got out of that and got into another relationship of 21 years. And fine, as always, but there was always a tug, push and come, because there was a conflict of culture. I'm a committed person, so I am that diehard Capricorn. I'm committed to that person and that situation, but no matter how I tried to adjust it to make myself feel good, I was not happy. It had nothing to do with poverty or anything like that. Raising kids did fine. I was just not happy because then I could read between the lines and I saw a lot of things that I choose to ignore. Once getting out of that relationship of 21 years, I just sat down and decided to just meditate, learn how to really meditate and listen to the voices of my inner spirit. And in it, it was telling me I needed to heal myself. I needed to love myself and be comfortable with myself. Putting myself first is not being selfish. And as we grew up, we were not, back in my culture, those days, to say to put yourself first meant that you were selfish. And that's the first thing someone would say, you putting yourself first. Oh, that's selfish. God, I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
No, he wants us to take care of us so that we can take care of our family. And so we weren't taught how to take care of ourselves first without
Mm-hmm.
selfish. So by taking care of myself and learning that I needed time to myself and to review my life and look at my past. And then in my past, it would sometimes bring me smiles because then I learned and understood that what was going on in my past was a teaching moment. There's old saying back in our culture, the school of hard knocks. What you don't learn today, you're going to learn tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And so there was that teaching of hard knocks. And I realized then, and I could only laugh at myself then and say, oh, I paid a very high price for going to school of hard knocks. I do not want to repeat those lessons, nor do I want to pay that penalty for going to school and being stuck repeating that grade in the school of hard knocks. So first,
Mm-hmm.
second, third level, you just in the school and you graduate, and you try not to repeat the school of hard knocks. But with that being said, it's been it's took a minute because when you're coming from a household, from a home, been raised in with a two-parent family, and I marry out. Therefore, I'm still not by myself. I still have a husband. Now I got the responsibility of children. And then there is trying to go out on your own. It's not an easy thing. It wasn't for me. And I'm like, oh, I think I can do it because I was doing, I wonder, I say, there's a lot of young people are living by themselves with kids and struggling. So I know I can do this. So when I separated from my last ex, I had no income. My health was not good. I had no insurance. I just had my property that I just was helping, that was blessed with a few years before. And I just relied on God, totally, solely on God. And no one really knew what was going on with me. Only thing they knew that I wasn't on the same property.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very hard. It was very hard starting out on my own, being in the home alone, not having anything. And one thing I was very grateful for is that the way I was raised, I was able to rely on my morals and my strength and ability to survive. Meaning, I took whatever was surrounding me and I made it work for me. And I didn't have to go out and try to buy new furniture, things like that. What I didn't have, I didn't have. And I just relied on what was around me, and I was able to make things happen, and really actually took time and built a decent life for myself. Um, I've been celibate all these years, over 10 years, and so I can't say I'm miserable.
Mm-hmm. You found peace, solitude,
Yeah.
serenity with that understanding self.
Mhm. I wouldn't
How?
say I wouldn't say I don't get lonely sometimes, but in
Mm-hmm.
that prayer and that transition into this life, single life that I have now, is yeah, I must say that I've been in the community as a community activist for over 30 years, so that's during the whole time. But I honestly feel that that was part of my healing that kept me unfocused on the things that had broke my heart, that had me in my feelings and my emotional. So it helped me transition also, along with my meditations and my spiritual, encouragement. So I wouldn't say I was never lonely, but at those points, and when I first started on this journey to heal myself, the first thing I asked God was to allow me to please take away this feeling of feeling that I needed to be with a male companion. I
Mm-hmm.
did not want to feel like I see most of my friends are associates. Once they leave one man, they hop with another one. And I'm saying to do that, it wasn't hard. This not wasn't hard. This time kind of hard right now because because you don't know what you're getting now. But the thing of it is like I need to heal myself. There's something wrong with me. Meaning my picker was broke because I kept seeming when ration out, I was picking the same kind of person.
Are
They
you
were.
sure? Are you sure? Um, it wasn't necessarily your picker was broke, but you were attracting the energies of where you were at that present moment because you didn't really understand. So I know back then it was conversations. A lot of women couldn't have their own bank accounts and stuff like that. So they had to be a little bit more codependent on men because they would bring it home the money and the women would handle the bills and things like that. So was it necessarily more so, okay, this person can take care of the household, but at the same time, I'm willing to lessen myself just to create an environment where we could provide for my children.
Mhm.
And if that was the case, how did that impact the relationship with your children once you guys decided, we have to separate parts because I don't understand who Denise is. I'm yet to figure out who I am because I put myself in this situation. Like you said, you went from your house where you were still surrounded in an environment where people were telling you how you were to becoming a part of a union where you still weren't valued for what you had to offer, but you knew this was something you needed to do because it was based off of how your religion and your upbringing was.
Mhm. Mhm.
So, with that being said, during all of these transitions, when you start having children, how did that impact your relationship? And also, how did that impact your relationship with people you came in tune with, who had that same mindset at the time? How did you break away from that cycle?
Well, during that time, like I said, I had the community that I get involved with. So I was involved with a lot of other people and their issues. So fixing other people's issues and concerns in the community helped me to ignore what I was going through. But at the same time, um, it allowed me to see, oh, wow, I want to. I don't know how they live like that. I can't live like that. But I'm just that strong-willed person, and you just not gonna talk to me no any kind of way. You're not
Mhm.
going to handle me no any kind of way. And if you do, it's because I allow it to make sure that I am not in the wrong, or
Mhm.
that my whole thing was in life growing up is that I respect person's opinions, and although I may not agree with them, but you're going to hear mine, whether you agree with them or not. But at the same time, I compromised a lot. I compromised a hell of a lot just to get along until I got tired of it because I
Mhm.
felt like I wasn't respected for all that I did and what I do. And so to get away from the others, I was never really a person to hang out in groups and crowds. That's just wasn't my MO. That's just not me. I'm more independent and to myself most of the time. A couple of
Mhm.
times I try to get in a female group, sisterhood type of thing, but they would call it sisterhood, but yeah, nah.
Well, let's unpack that because that's a funny topic there. The relationship between sisterhood. So I
Mhm.
found myself when I decided that I can go on my own, or when I decided that I wasn't gonna be in these relationships as far as with certain partners, then it was like I was seeking that sisterhood because I wanted somebody to lean on, or just not even necessarily lean on, but somebody who could help me get through, or like groups that could help me, navigate. Because like you said, I also stayed with my family, my grandmother and my family, and then went straight into a relationship. So I didn't know what it was to live on my own. Even though I was bouncing from like house to house sometime with my eldest, it was never a situation where I felt strong enough to go on my own until I started seeing my friends, my associates being able to do it. And a lot of them feeding into me. But what I noticed, a lot of sisterhoods that I was seeking were more trauma bond,
Mm,
because these were also um, women who had, mommy wounds, daddy wounds, family wounds, uh, relationship wounds, and just not knowing how to deal. The only way we all knew how to deal was let's work, let's work, let's work, let's keep busy, let's go drink, let's go dance, let's go party, but not really sitting down and saying, let's go on these retreats and figure out what the problem is. Why do we feel we need to escape and do all of these things versus actually sitting and dealing? So as these years have gone past, my understanding of the sisterhoods that have I attracted over the years really has impacted the way that I see things, because I've attracted manipulators, I've attracted people that feed off my energy, um just not necessarily positive as far as relationships go. And so my point is, even though we separated from our partners, that we find the same type of characteristics in the sisters that we attract throughout our lives, until we figured out actually taking time to ourselves. Um, we attract a higher type of frequency person within our lives. Does that make sense?
mhm. Yes.
Because I found, you know, even though I left my partner, let's say like my first husband, I was still attracting people who had his characteristics, until I was able to release that type of energy and say no more. Like I don't want to be in this stagnant, putting myself down, lowering myself type energy. So how do I separate myself, not away from that, but learn the lesson and say, this is something that I will no longer tolerate. And I don't want to attract that energy, not in another mate, not in a corporation, because I was finding even in the corporate world, It was like, oh, this is energy from partners that I've dealt with in the past. Why is it showing up in my professional aspect of life? Why is it showing up in my family aspect of life or dynamics and just friendships, period? Until you really sit down and deal with whatever lesson it is that you're supposed to learn at that moment.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. And one thing that I reiterated in reading, um, and this is what I would encourage anyone to do, really, who's trying to separate and get out of a relationship. If you truly trust um, in God and your spiritual guides, you will do okay. It's a little struggle. Anybody tells you, oh, you have nothing to worry about, it won't bother you, just telling you a lie. It took me a while. I think it took me about a year to really get over my feelings. Regardless of the fact, yes, I did. I forgave myself for allowing myself to go through the situation. Because no one makes you go through a situation unless you're a slave or you and captured and into a plantation or a property that you can't get away. So being that I have the freedom to move about and do what I need to do, it's the fear of starting over, the fear of what other people will say, and those fears. So you got to work through your fears,
Mhm.
and I call them pros and cons. So make a list of your pros and cons and say, okay, if I did this, how would this affect me? What's the pros and what's the cons? And if your cons outweigh your pros, look at your con list and see how you can change that con around.
Mhm.
Okay. And a lot of times we like to keep a lot of business to ourselves, which I was one, but it takes me longer to heal. But that was okay with me because I wanted to fix myself personally.
Mhm.
And things that I didn't understand, I did a lot of reading and a lot of researching, from scriptures to things, researches that I found on YouTube. I spent a lot of time in Barnes and Noble just trying to make things make sense, because some things, as I say, growing up was not taught to me in a way
Mhm.
that I understood it. It was told to me, but it wasn't taught to me, because the persons that raises us 9 out of 10, they don't have the background. They do not have the answers. They just follow what they were told to do and not really have a
Mhm.
clear understanding or clarity and realizing that they have options themselves. So a lot of women and men, that I've seen some men been mistreated by women. I feel sorry for them. Back in the day, I think it was Better Writer, some of our old singers, R&B singers. There's one song that's still sticking in my head today, and Funky Dineva, and a lot of us repeat some of these old songs. Um, I remember living in the Glades and the 70s, and you would often hear old women say, well, don't blame Mr. Charlie. Mr. Charlie just a man. So you don't caught your man with this person over red-handed. And so you got to take him back. That's the man. He's the man of the house. So he's just a man. You got to take him back because, you ain't working or you're not making enough money to feed those kids. You got to take him back and put up with his bull. No, you don't have to do that these days. Back then, women felt there was no out. There is out. There are support groups. There's therapy. And a lot of people, a lot of women, they go through this mind Jedi tricks that these men come in and groom them. Same way a pimp will groom a female on the streets. The same
Mhm.
exact way. They beat them down, bring them up, and it's the same thing. But once you catch on and understand and learn that, you can move and you can do better for yourself. First, I start by forgiving yourself for being that person that allowed you. Don't hold so much anger on
Mhm.
that person. Share that anger with yourself and that person who treated you this way, because one, you were able to release yourself. You have the ability to
Mhm.
release yourself and change your mindset.
Yep.
And it's
Hold
very
yourself accountable.
right. And I understand that some women, there are restraining orders and whatever, and that's today is not working well for them, but you got to figure out a way. There's different opportunities, but you got to reach out for someone in order for someone to help you move forward in your journey of freeing yourself, so that you can live another day. Um, these things that we go through, back then it was harder to leave a relationship than it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Now it is not. um After being married for 16 years, I often thought it back into my 10th year, because honestly I didn't think I would be married to two. I just thought two was going to be it. And I got past the 7 year itch. Okay, it didn't itch that much. It was still fine. But I think in the probably having four kids, um, probably like in the eighth year, it started getting really rough, really rough. As far as having a marriage, wasn't so much the kids; it was having a marriage and making ends meet. So
Mm-hmm.
that puts a strain on a relationship as well. Uh, but at the same time, those days were kind of hard. But you got to now think and focus on the kids and what you don't want them to be involved with. Back then, like we said, the kids do. We didn't allow kids to be in grown folks' business. If we had an argument or we have a discussion, kids were not in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
Totally different, and that's some of the mindsets of our kids today. They know too damn much.
Mm-hmm.
They should know. They should know everything that the grown folks know. They really.
Mm-hmm.
But this isn't. These are obstacles now. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
That the young generation has to deal with and figure it out. But they have more help and assistance in getting out of these relationships and surviving after they get out. Excuse me. Let me get a little water here.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's true because when I was in a relationship in my first marriage, which I have three children with my estranged husband, my first one. At first, I had the ideology that I needed for them to grow up with their father. Because I didn't grow up with my biological dad. I grew up with my stepdad. So it was like I wanted them to grow up with their biological father. He was the only one I could trust around because I have three girls. It was just I was more so in my mind that there's nobody else that I could really trust around my children but their own father at that time. But then I noticed I was, losing myself. I wasn't as boisterous as I was. I wasn't as confident. I just going with the flow. And my girls was seeing that. And I wasn't liking that because it's when you get out here, especially being a woman of color, you have to show up and show out. If you not even, I'm not even talking about going out to sit at other people's tables. I'm talking about creating tables and things like that of your own. But you have to be able to speak. You have to be able to get out there, put yourself out there. And I noticed myself just pulling back, and to the point I'm just like, I can't do this anymore because you have little people, even though you're not arguing in front of them or you're not, doing the grown folk aspect of communication and stuff in front of them. Children are a lot more intuitive and aware than we think. Um, and I was seeing this because I can see the lack of confidence. I can see certain attributes or certain characteristics that my children started developing because I was allowing them to be in a limited environment household, not feeling protected because their father was a certain type of way. So it was just it got to I want to say like 2017 because we was only married for 2 years, but he was my high school sweetheart. Um, I had joined my sorority back in 2015, 2016. And then, I was getting out there again. I was public speaking, I was doing things, and I'm like, whoa, I missed this about Shondra. This was the aspect of me that I had lost. I've always been in student council, I've always been in debate clubs and stuff like that. But I pulled away as I started putting myself in these limited environments. My daughters were seeing it. But when I transitioned, put myself back out there, my girls were coming with me. And I seen a change within them too. So I was like, okay, I have to do something about this because they the next generation to come and do whatever they need to do. So I decided, I have a job. I can get up and I can leave. I can survive. I can do it. Me and the girls, we left. And honestly, in 2017, I started joining pageants. I started, glowing, becoming myself. And it just was, I had to understand that I cannot put myself in a box to make other people feel comfortable. And I try to teach the girls that as well. But it took years for me to understand that because I was raised in a very sheltered household. So do we feel it's more beneficial to stay in a relationship for the children until they get of a certain age, or is it better to say this is not working, show them that we can still make it work, you can still have your father or your other parent within your life and still be in a separate household and have the communication skills where you can co-parent and things like that so they understand the different aspects of what active communication looks like.
Um, I don't agree with staying in any relationship, whatever, however you want to title it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I believe in trying to give it actually 3 tries. First of all, you look at it as, okay, first of all, what am I doing wrong? We usually do that anyway. Or, oh, I made him mad. That's why this is. No, you look at your pros and cons of why should I stay in this relationship. And if you have kids, I would look at it, how's it affecting the kids? Because that's where it becomes important. Like you say, kids gravitate and they see and they can pick up, even if you're hiding it from them, they pick up your energy. They know when things are not right. Um,
Yes.
and is it fair for that child to stay in a relationship that's not right? If if you have a mate that your main argument is really the person is not faithful, constantly going out and whatever. And see, that was one of my fears in my marriage is that, you know what, I'm going to love you enough to let you go. Because one, don't bring nothing to me that I didn't give you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing of it is when my kids became older and we didn't have all, I think at that time we only had beepers. There was no cell phones and all that kind of thing when I went through my divorce. But my thing of it is people chat and they talk a lot. So, and I worked in the government and it was very public and I saw what the other women were going through and things like that. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't want to put my kids through that. I don't want them to be embarrassed about their father. If they someone see him out there and the other kids come back and say, hey, I seen your dad doing this, or I seen your mom doing this. So I believe in keeping them as innocent as possible,
Mm-hmm.
not putting them in harm's way and allowing them to see. So I can honestly admit that the only downside for that, I wish I would have divorced long before the first one became a teenager because they didn't understand the divorce. They took it hard because
Okay.
my kids never saw us argue. Because we didn't discuss anything in front of them. So that was something they didn't understand why, dad could no longer be here, or when I agreed for them to still stay in the household after the divorce in a separate room because we still wanted to raise the kids with two parents in the household.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't really last that long. That didn't work out. So it worked out to a point. If you can do it, then that's fine. But I found somebody else, and then I eventually moved out and sold my rights to the father. But the house was built for the kids. How they worked that out later, I don't know. That was the purpose of building the first home. But but I don't think it's fair to the children, and it definitely wasn't fair to me. It wasn't fair to me. I end up being the mother and the father in a relationship, in a marriage where both parents were in the same under the same roof. So no, that wasn't fair to me, and it wasn't fair to the kids because sooner or later somebody was gonna get hurt, and I wasn't planning on it being me. So I think my decision to divorce was the third time was the charm. I really went through it the third time. So it's not fair to the kids, and you really should just look at their better way of and if they you do it early enough, they can get out of it. And so what I had to do, as them being close to teenagers at the time of the divorce, I know there was some hurtful feelings, there was some emotions, and they just didn't understand really what's going on. So apparently they were hearing things from the father side and the father side of the people. I didn't try to
Mm-hmm.
give contest anything, but when I had them, um, if this was the situation, I never spoke bad about their dad, and I didn't allow them to hold a conversation of me with their dad. That was my rule. When
Same.
they stepped into my household, they respect my household and my mate respected my kids. There was no separation because my kids are part of me. There's no separation. So, therefore,
Absolutely.
and I always know from wisdom that as the kids get older and they gain wisdom, and it's no longer a playtime, they will see the truth. And that's what exactly happened. Don't even
Mm-hmm.
stress yourself trying to belittle the father or the mother. The kid's going to see for themselves. The kids will see
Right.
for themselves. And that I can really tell you from dealing with my own life, and then my life of my some of my grandkids. They see. So when they get
Mm-hmm.
old enough, they'll see. You don't have to say anything more. Um, but what they would then appreciate the fact that you were not an embarrassment in the public for them, and they will love you for that. So I think the most pertinent advice to give is to be peaceful, mindful,
Mm-hmm.
and loving. Show me respect, I show you. If you can't show me respect, be gone. There's nothing for you to
Absolutely.
say to me. Just be gone. Yeah, and
Absolutely.
live peacefully that way.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
With that being said, when you went through your divorce, because you all lived in a small town, right? When you were working with the government.
Well, we was in Palm Beach County still.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in built a home in Boynton and divorced, and then shortly moved over to was living between two, the Boynton because the kids were still going to school down south,
Mm-hmm.
and then living in West Palm until finally I permanently live in West Palm. Hmm.
Did you feel like your divorces impacted your professional life at all?
No, my divorce because I was a private person. Basically, I lived in a neighborhood for 5 or 6 years. The people didn't even know those kids were mine. They didn't even know I was married. I would
Wow.
go out every morning, evening. Hi, how you doing? And I'm a person that loves to work in the yard. So when I get home, I can't wait to get home to cut my lawn, trim my hedges, or just doing something outside. We go for walks and things with the neighbors and whatever. And they would see my kids. They would once thought that by then I was in my 20s. I bought my first home in my 20s. And so they would think that was my kids, my brother and sisters, they said. And
Wow.
they so I was married until I actually was going through a divorce. And then the rumors went through the neighborhood that I was going through a divorce. Yeah. And I
Okay.
didn't tell it. He did because he started fooling around with the neighbor.
Wow.
So all it takes is
Like,
that ratchet female, and they thought they were boasting on something, and it didn't work out the way they thought was going to work out. But yeah, nobody knew. Actually, very, very few people, maybe two or three people knew I was married. Hmm.
Wow, wow, wow.
Hmm.
So emotionally, when you went through this divorce, you say you went through two divorces. How did it impact or how did it jumpstart your healing process? So your discovery for yourself or to yourself to operate as a whole. Give me 1 second. Hold on, I'm gonna pause the
Okay.
record. All right.
Hmm.
So the question was like, after going through the divorces, and you said you've been celibate for about a little over 10 years, what triggered, did you even know you were healing? Because a lot of times we'll be going through stuff and we don't even know that we're shedding off, a lot of the experiences, and we've acquired the wisdom from the lesson. So when did you know you were getting into that moment of like, aha, I'm shedding, I'm healing, I'm feeling good, I'm understanding who Denise is.
Well, what I realized is that I was no longer interested, honestly, in other people's issues as far their relationship issues, meaning
Mhm.
the gossiping part of things and caring about who my ex is with, or because we live across the road from each other. It's really difficult when you're trying to get over a situation. So, but I realized I no longer care because I had to keep telling myself, this doesn't concern you. Move on. Doesn't concern you.
Mhm.
And when I would repeat to myself that as long as I'm angry and I'm upset or curious about something else that's going on, it controls my happiness. That person controls my happiness. And when I actually literally found out that that's what they would do and just cause arguments for no reason, even though we were separated, and then no longer entertain the arguments or the conversations with them. I would treat them, answer the phone calls and whatever, because we raised our grandkids together and everything, and didn't want to have to explain to the grandkids what's going on. Really, I wanted them to have a honest life. I want them to be able to relate to both of us, the parents and whatever. If they couldn't go to their parents, I wanted them to still feel it was comfortable to talk to their grandparents. So, with that said, I just learned to mind my business, and I asked for my guiding angels and Heavenly Father, just, hey, control my tongue for one, because I have a lethal tongue.
cut, cut deep.
It cuts like a two-edged sword. The Bible never lies. Yeah, I used to be that person that wanted to have the last word. So I'm a Capricorn and he was a Taurus. And of course, he wanted the last word. I got to have the last word. So, it was just fire in that house. Right.
Uh-huh.
And so I had to learn to control that. But most importantly, I had to learn what it meant by allowing someone else to control your peace. When I learned to control my peace, I started realizing, I normally would get upset about that. Oh, I see that. I normally would jump to this or that, or want to get my feelings get into something. And I saw that and I start smiling. Oh, I- an argument comes and I want to rebuttal it or get into it because I know I had the last word and I know I knew what I was talking about.
Mhm.
What I would tell my ex, basically, he's the only person I've argued with. Um, I would tell my ex is that, you know what, this conversation is starting to piss me off, so I'm gonna tell you like this: before it controls my peace, I'm gonna let you go and we'll talk about this at another time, which I have no intention of talking about. But
Mhm.
that's what it was, and I did that about 3 times, and then, oh, he's well trained now, so he understands I'm not gonna argue with you about nothing, not
So
anything. Not,
that's the power of boundaries. You
yeah,
start learning how to set boundaries for
yeah,
yourself because you
definitely.
develop some standards.
Yeah, so that was one of the things, and then it allowed me to be proud of myself. Okay, so it's really growing. I'm really growing, and then I realized there's certain things on television that I would like, the crime shows or the Lifetime. I no longer felt I couldn't stand Lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
There's all these relationship issues that I could always figure it out. I'm like, why you watch it? That's depressing. So I would only watch things that were happy, that was, had humor to it. Or like sometime my television would stay on a station that only played meditation music because I suffer with anxiety as well. So, and that helped me get through my anxieties. When I feel myself coming on like that, I just put something on and I start meditating, or, have that meditation music, and it helps me relax and put me in a different frame of mind. It relaxes me so I can concentrate with wholeness.
So that's deep. In other words, in order to change your circumstances, you had to change your standards. And by changing your standards, you were able to create boundaries.
Hmm.
And with you being able to create boundaries, you pretty much was able to see, I no longer want this programming anymore.
Hmm.
Let me change the channel.
Hmm.
So you put the power back in your hands by saying, I'm no longer going to let these negative energies occupy my mind, occupy my space for rent free. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the channel because this not resonating with me no more.
Hmm.
I
Exactly.
no longer want to engage in this. And so you telling God, your higher power, your angels, I've learned the lesson of what it is to allow people or external factors to impede on my peace. And whatever my peace may look like to me, I know it's not disturbance, and I know it's not angry or negative energies to come in.
Hmm.
Right? Is that what we saying there
Exactly.
is?
Because it's just like there's like 7 different steps that you go through that I would encourage anyone to go through. And I started this course of being trying to find my purpose in life. Because here, finding your purpose in life, I'm like, what is my purpose? I don't know how I'm supposed to find this. But through research and prayer and meditation, I learned that a thing that makes me happy, that brings me pleasure with the least amount of efforts, is my life's purpose. And I can see and bring shed light with someone who's going through something, and communicating with them. And when I see I'm bringing a change in their life by using my skills and what I've learned, is my purpose. And that's why I resonate to, and that's why I do what I do in the community, and also working with our kids in the summer with the summer
Mhm.
program. So I try to instill these same skills in them without them really knowing that they're going through a life lessons. And so I am a certified life coach, a purpose life coach, meaning helping you find your purpose and
Mhm.
enlightening you and setting your goals in life so that you can come to really work on that and enjoy your life. So, but that's one thing, allowing yourself to feel. It's okay to feel emotions, but then you want to ask yourself, why am I feeling this? You know, and
Mhm.
and then next thing is seeking support. We want to practice self-care. Now that took me a minute to really do and get into, and
Mhm.
setting boundaries as we just discussed, and establishing healthy boundaries to protect ourselves from any negative influence. So each day, brother, going to a meeting, going out into the community, going into my yard, before I walk out the doors, I'm asking for protection from negative minded people. And as I'm attending a meeting that I'm not so sure what it is, or I know I'm going in the room with a negative people, I'm asking God to allow me to be a magnet to positive energies.
Mhm.
And that's been working out really well, and protect myself from any negative influence.
Is
And
it protecting? Is it protecting or are you transmuting? So
um,
like when you go in these rooms, is it
just
because you
repelling,
are, huh?
To me, it's repelling the negative energies. It's because you can be coming off saying something, and I swear I can be looking you right in the face. I don't know nothing you saying. It sounds like wah 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 wah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't hear it, so it don't affect me, and I'm not influenced by things that you're saying. And sometimes I also take something that may have been said that I heard, and I'm like, I'm not gonna say anything, but does it make sense? And I try to weigh out the pros and cons of something you may have said I may not agree with or whatever. And then sometimes I do. I see what it is that you're saying and the benefit. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's just like that's what helps me to really understand what Kanye West was saying. I just took the time to listen to what he was saying and realize that I have to cherry pick his conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And setting boundaries is really important. Things from the past, things of persons from the past, and just be cautious of those things that you learned in the past, so you're not returning to the old habits and whatever. We want to reflect and learn on what our relationships have taught us in the past or what's going on now, and try to understand what lessons that can be taken away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Use this opportunity for personal growth and self-discovery, because like I said, every bad relationship is not all one person's fault.
Yep. This is true.
Okay. So when we take a lesson from this, and most importantly, I found it hard to do because I couldn't. I don't know why I found it hard, but focusing on the present, being mindful of what's going on right now,
Mm-hmm.
focusing on the present, and to make things happen for the future.
Going with the flow,
Hmm.
being like water.
Remember, healing is a process. It's not an overnight thing, and it's important to be patient and kind to ourselves as we uh, go through these negative thoughts. And if we find that we're struggling, we should not hesitate to seek advice from a professional or someone that you know is that can relate to your situation. Just getting into a group of females or a group of men, I call them front porch gossipers. It just doesn't really help the situation, because I always would tell some of the people that consider to call me for advice, and they say I'm harsh, but I don't have time to play around, because I
Around
don't
the
need
bush.
you to keep asking me the same questions over, and they keep coming back to tomorrow and discussing 30 minutes or hour, sucking up my energy about a situation that you were not willing to listen to the advice. So my thing
Mm-hmm.
is to be straightforward and direct with you and advise you on what you asked me about, and if there's an experience I can relate. And so these are the things that I found that's important in life and in moving about. And I think uh, we, as I was listening to someone on YouTube, they were talking about relationships, and lady didn't get married till she was 60 years old. Um, she would say before she got married, what she would do, she had some friends that were married, and she was busy. She was a psychotherapist. And what she would do when she was engaged, she would say before she told the young man, she said, "Let me think about it." She said, "Yes, I accept the ring, but let me think about it." So she went around researching and talking to married couples that she saw were, uh, in her eyes, sight was doing well in marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And so they would tell her the pros and cons and this and that. So she took all of that as research and says, "Okay, this is how we're going to do what we do in our marriage." And see if that doesn't work, then we'll do this and the other. So basically, she went to a positive site source
Mm-hmm.
to seek advice. She didn't go to a bunch of single folks
Right.
to seek advice. You
Exactly. So you pick and choose
hmm
and have an understanding so you could attract and manifest what
right,
it is that you truly desire.
right.
So, what I gather from this conversation is to define what self care looks like for you. Understand what you will and will not tolerate so that you can be able to create boundaries. Then also learning how to shut off your computer,
hmm
meaning being able to shift gears and decipher and discern what is good information and what is trash information in order for you to be able to change the channel.
Mhm.
And then also that it's okay for you to be selfish and not being selfless all the time. Because in order for you to give, you have to be able to take care of self, fill your cup before you can fill somebody else. That way you can have an overflow that you can be able to share with others.
Mhm.
That
Absolutely.
and with you being able to set those types of guidelines for your life, it automatically comes natural for your children and those around you to be able to see it,
Mhm.
to feel it, to understand it. Because you don't necessarily need to see it to always be able to feel it. And I think that's one of the, not think, I know that's one of the major lessons and transitions that you and I have shared common ground with. And hence the reason why we've come together in this lifetime at this present moment. So at least that's what I know.
Mhm. Right. Bottom line is a reminder. So let's start by incorporating self-care
Hmm.
practices into our daily routine and to prioritize our emotional well-being during our healing process. And even if you're not going through anything right now, start practicing self-care.
Hmm.
Self-care doesn't hurt anyone, but darn sure makes you feel good.
Yes, 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 yes. And on
So
that
if
note,
so if you're not getting up in the morning, going to brush your teeth, and you look in the mirror and you're not smiling at yourself, you need to practice self-care. Because there's a reason you're not smiling at yourself in the morning.
mhm, even before your feet hit the ground, say thank you.
Hmm.
You know, it takes a simple thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm up, I'm here, I have a house, a roof over my head, I have food in my refrigerator. Just thank you. Starting a day off with thanks take you a long way
Hmm.
to even start your self care.
And thank you all through the day. And at
So,
the end, when you get in bed,
amen.
you're saying,
Yes.
thank you. Because I started this morning like, oh, 8:30 with a meeting. Before 8:30, there was a call from the police chief about our April 6th community day. And so you start out, and I'm like, oh man, I haven't had coffee yet. And but excuse me, but you have, thank you. I am grateful. I am grateful that this is coming together. I am grateful people that there support me. So all during the day, and what I've accomplished that during the day, I'm thankful. Before I lay my head on the pillow, so thankful. I'm so grateful.
Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. And with that being said, since you brought up the community day, can you remind the people about our community day coming up April 6th? And then some of the other workshops and activities we have coming in the near future, and we'll close it out.
Well, I'm not sure about the other workshops, but there is April 6th Community Day at
Mm-hmm.
4105 Pinewood Road. That's at the park right in front of the Boys and Girls Club here in on the
Mm-hmm.
north end of West Palm Beach, um, Pinewood Road. There will be our police and fire department. There will be cooking hot dogs and hamburgers for our kids and residents here. There are hopefully food vendors will be there inside the gym. There will be an entrepreneur expo of our local folks selling their goods and services. Come out and enjoy, partake, and help them build their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
There's a young lady that will be coming that's has written a book, and so these young people that are coming out and showing their worth. We have a couple of young people from the community that also starting their own entrepreneurship as well. There will also be a plethora of other activities going on, and we have what a mini beauty pageant also, and some of our games and sports will be accompanied with rewards and gifts. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just an ongoing event. We'll have some of our city leaders here, mayor, commissioners will also be joining us for this event as well. And April 3rd, we will be, our group will be receiving a proclamation for April the 6th, Pinewood Day. So this is exciting time for us
Yeah.
um, to keep moving and keep things moving in our communities. And as this is Women's Historic Month, don't know
Mm-hmm.
I don't yeah. So we're celebrating, reach out and celebrate those women in your community, in your office, and those who are on longevity, has been out working in the community trying to make a difference. Don't forget to say thank you to them. Um,
Absolutely.
um, June the 10th, there will also be, we'll start a CTSO and Miss Projects where we'll be hosting a 7-week summer teens program. This would include
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship as well as life skill training and mental health issues, and partnering with Hanley's Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
So the next 3 or 4 months, we got a lot going on in the community. Come out and support us.
Absolutely. So again, thank you for tuning in with Mama Denise of CTSO and Amin Anuti AKA Shondra with just a baby boomer and a millennial on topics dealing with healing and relationships. All right.
Have a great day.
Yes, yes, yes. Hold on, Mama.